everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today at the Joie de Vivre podcast. Today's guest is Tennessee. It's a pleasure having you here today. I'm so excited for today's call. We will be focused on imposter syndrome, and we will be talking about best practices to help you along the way. Welcome, Tennessee. I'm glad to have you here. If you can tell us a little bit more about yourself to start with.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited. It's a pleasure. Say a bit about myself. I am Tennessee Thaler, and I'm a women mentor and a neuron coaching specialist coach. I also specialize in family constellation practice and holistic healing. And imposter syndrome is a very close to home kind of theme, and something that unfortunately over 70% of women experience it. So I think it's very, very important that we discuss about it and bring to light this situation, this theme that many feel like isolated, and they feel like they're the only ones experiencing it because nobody talks about it, right? Yes. But it's actually quite the contrary. The majority of women actually experience it.
Yeah, and we need to increase the awareness and kind of discuss more about it and share more tips and tools to help women along the way.
Yes, my mission is to help as many women as possible.
That's great.
Bring back the power of the feminine, to balance and being in balance, I suppose, with the masculine. And just bring our power back. And imposter syndrome is one of those things that makes us powerless. And that's why it's so special for me to talk about it. My clients, most of them have imposter syndrome at one stage or another, some of them more often than others. But also not just imposter syndrome, because what imposter syndrome really is, it's a side effect of which normally would be the normal side effects are imposter syndrome, self-doubt, self-sabotage.
So it's not the root. It's not the root issue. It's not the cause.
Okay. Most people who have imposter syndrome will have one of the others as well. So you'll have self-sabotage, procrastination, perfectionism, workaholic, and so on. Fear of failure, fear of success. All of these, I call them the dream thieves. So they steal your dreams away. They stop you from getting to that place you really dream to be. And where they come from, it's from an internal, deep inside feeling of not feeling good enough. And that's the real root cause, is the emotional root cause of not feeling good enough, not felt seen when you're a child. So so when we're looking at I work on the adult self, but we also but mostly as well, a lot of the work building the real strong foundations for people that they can build their lives on top of it, solid enough, is most of the time actually we're rebuilding the lives, because clean the path, clear the land, and then building it a really solid foundation. But for that, we need to look at the root causes of those blockades, including the imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Does it require you going back on time with your patients or clients and kind of digging into their past, and if there is any childhood trauma or any events that caused them to grow up to be developing these issues, and or it's more of okay, what happened to you, let's just stay focused on these symptoms? How do you approach it?
So for me, I think that if you deal with just the now, it's a little bit like you have a headache that is actually a side effect of something else that's causing the headache. But let's just give you a painkiller.
Okay.
And not really treat the infection that's causing the headache.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Okay. Yes.
So for me, it's very, very, very important to work on the root causes first. Then, so we clear off, we build the foundation. Yeah. So let's remove all the debris, everything that's there, that's old roots that doesn't serve anymore. Then we can move forward. Okay. So I'll help you in the process of moving forward. But to move forward, sometimes we need to step back a little bit. And most of the time, people have the answers. These people, whoever, like the majority of people suffer from imposter syndrome, they are extremely capable and more than qualified for the things that they want. Yeah. Because they usually really passionate about the things they really want. So you tend to really, focus and put some attention, but their fear, is holding them back.
It's blocking them.
Yes. So my job is to clear their vision, and so they can see their own potential, their own power and knowledge, and so they can move forward. So that's my job, right? Okay. And I've seen tremendous results of my clients, because some like I think a common sentence that they all say, "Wow, I never thought about it that way." Yeah,
because they were too stuck. They were stuck on that like piece on that was bothering them and created these symptoms.
Yeah, because what happens is the majority of the trauma that causes those imposter syndrome, perfectionism, self-sabotage, and all of those are things that happens to us. Their memory, the emotional memory of us that we create when we're very little, usually under 7 or 8 years old. And most of us don't remember too far out on that child, like the memories of the childhood, except for maybe some traumatic events. Or really happy events, right? Yeah. But we don't remember everything, right? And a lot of times, how do we deal with emotions? We push under the carpet. Yeah. Right? Exactly. We pretend, I'm over it. I get over it. It's not there. It's fine. I keep going, right? It's all fine. It's all fine. And the problem is, it will show up somewhere in your life, in your way.
In a different shape. Exactly.
It does. It does. And it does, and one way or another. I've seen people from that, like, and ask, what is imposter syndrome? How do you know if you have it? And so I see people who are extremely qualified, but is stuck on very low junior positions because they're afraid of putting themselves up for promotion. Yeah. Or to cross to a different position even altogether. People who really want to start a business, to do something that they're really passionate about, but they don't have the courage, or they start more often than others. They start, but when you're an entrepreneur, there's nowhere to hide. Yeah. So everything comes to life. It comes in front of you to be dealt with. And it needs to be dealt with. If it's coming to you, it's because it's ready to be dealt with, and needs to, so you can move forward. So there is workaholics, people who literally needs the extra validation from people seeing that they're working so hard.
Yeah, they're successful.
Yeah. Another way that really shows up is, and is very close brother there, is to imposter syndrome is perfectionism.
Yeah, they want to have everything like the right way.
No, it's like this. I just need one more course. Okay. And one more course before I'm ready. Oh, but I need that certification to be ready.
There's always something missing.
Yeah. Oh, but I haven't gone to university, so definitely I'm not good for this position. Right? When you know you're good for it, you're already doing the job probably and not being recognized for it, and all of that. So that's how it shows up, and then what happens is you just get stuck. and
Okay.
you just get stuck, and you feel, and you can fall into depression. And one thing that really happens with people suffering imposter syndrome is burnout.
Because is it because of the amount of thinking?
Because you feel you need to work extra hard to be
Okay.
accepted, to be good
Too,
enough.
so you're too hard on yourself.
You're perfectionist, so you don't trust anyone else to do the job and help you, right?
So you don't ask for help.
You don't ask for help. Don't ask for help, and don't trust that anybody else will be able to do the job as perfect as you, and then all that goes with it.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle, yeah. And then you just and usually when you're like on the loop, burnout can happen as well. Well, it's stress, right? Stress related. And if you think, it could be that there's very difficult relationships in work, right? Maybe you've been bullied or something, or too much pressure on you as well, and you're like, the person is putting way too much more pressure than they actually supposed to, but then you're so afraid of saying anything back.
Yeah.
Right. Afraid of saying, well, I mean, this is a job for 3 people and you expect me to do, by myself. It's impossible, right? I need help.
Of course.
So,
yes.
So there's many scenarios that will come in. It could be in a relationship, could be an event that will eventually just blow up in your face and you just can't handle it anymore. So,
and that was the question I was going to ask you. How does it affect your personal life? If you can give us an example of like outside of like work and business.
So imposter syndrome can have, for example, you have your group of friends, and then you think that everyone else is so much better than you and so much more good looking, and it's like, wow, I don't even know what I'm doing here in this group of friends. I don't think I belong here.
Yeah.
Like, because they're so much better than me and they're so successful and I'm not, and whatever, that kind of thing. And all those
inferiority. Yeah.
All those narratives that you create in your head, the quite negative narratives that you create in your head about yourself, in many circumstances. It happens to our own relationships. How many people say, well, I mean, I don't deserve you.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
They feel like they don't deserve to be loved by someone or treated well.
Yeah, exactly.
So for someone who doesn't have access to coaching or therapy to help, or at least to kind of like, step forward and try to face those feelings versus just like keeping them inside, hiding them and like feeling like everything is like rose. What do you recommend to do like as a first step? Just like something you can do on your own.
So I think a coach or mentor, a psychologist, or whichever you choose, right, to helps you to get further faster, right? And will help you to go deeper and to the root cause, because a lot of times we'll do a self-protective mode and when it gets too painful, we'll stop. Right. Because remember as well, the brothers and sisters of imposter syndrome is self-sabotage, and procrastination. So you fall into the risk of one of the brothers sisters coming up as well along the way, and then you don't actually do the work. If you're really serious about the work and about change, and you feel like, listen, I cannot continue living like this. It's just simple. It's just no point to continue just going through life with so much pain. What's the point? Right? No, I choose to make the decision. So the first thing is you need to decide that you want to be happy, that you want to have the life you dreamed and that you deserve it, right? So absolutely. I'd say the first thing is you should do a practice. You write down all the things that you normally say to yourself when you put in those situations. Oh, there are so many other coaches out there and they're so much more experienced than me. there is, you know, oh, they have this big, beautiful website. I don't have the money for this. Or, you know, like all those things
Yes.
that we keep saying to ourselves. So write them down, all these as exactly, and then read out loud as if somebody is saying those things to you.
Okay.
Right? Because we tend to be very kind to people, but not very kind to ourselves.
Ourselves. It's true.
Right? So once you do that, it makes you realize, wow, like, I mean, would you be that mean to somebody else? Would you say those things to somebody else? If somebody else was in your position and trying to go and question themselves a little bit, what would you say to them? You probably would encourage them, probably give them positive reassurance. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to write down, you're going to say out loud what those narratives, and then you're going to say bullshit. Sorry.
I like it. Yes, great. Very
but
real.
You have to say it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna say, and you're gonna ask, is this true? You actually need to question it. Okay.
Yeah.
So ask it, is it true? And see what it comes to you and how you feel about it and so on.
Connect with yourself.
Yeah. And then be like, but is it really deep, honestly true? Yeah. Are you really that incompetent? Are you really that bad? Are you really not good enough? Are you really, you know, that ugly or whatever it is, you know? And then you say, and then the third thing you ask is, does it really matter? All these things, do they really matter? Yeah.
You really have to be perfect to achieve this. You really have to be this good looking to be like whatever you want it to be.
And the other thing is, the last and most important thing is take massive action. So get out your comfort zone, that point that you're like shaking yourself, and you get to that point and you're like, I'm gonna have a panic attack right now. Get to that point and then jump. Like, you know, just go for it and close your eyes and press the enter button and just, you know, send your application, do whatever. If you want to say something, come from a place of heart and just trust. And the thing is, there is no such thing as failure. Yeah. There is no such a thing as rejection. It's redirection. It's not failure, it's learning. And people keep saying that and say, oh, blah, blah. It's true though, right? We can choose to just see the things in a negative way. But actually, how many times in your life you say, wow, this, and I can tell you by experience, because this happened to me earlier this year. Yeah. Something happened with the job that I really hated. And the job was the cherry on the cake on a very sour cake. Okay. That really brought me to a very deep emotional hole, right? And the best thing that happened to me was that job to finish. Yeah. And you know, I could feel, I feel rejection. I could have felt at the very moment they happened, I felt all sort of negative emotions, really upset. I was really angry. And the reality is I was angry, but I was angry at myself because I should have left way before. Okay. And then I stopped myself. After half an hour later, I stopped myself and I said, take a deep breath and said, let me just think about this through a little bit. Yeah. I was super miserable in this. And because of the money, I probably wouldn't have quit, because I should have done already that, and I didn't. So this thing that happened was the actual best thing that happened to me. And it was because it was after this that I decided that I no longer wanted to live that miserable life that I was living. I didn't need to do that. And I wanted to be the best version of myself. So that's what I did. And that's when I went for help and a pivot.
And sometimes, yeah, and sometimes those rejections, at the moment, they make you feel bad, but with time, you realize that that was actually a good thing for you.
Yeah,
Because it wasn't the right path that you were taking.
Yes, it was a redirection, and that's the thing. So many people say, if that thing that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be here today. Or if I hadn't gone to this place, I wouldn't have met the love of my life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so that's the beauty of life. If you know, it's if you believe you are or that you aren't, you are right, as they say, right? So believe that you are good, believe in the positive. And one thing that actually one step before taking the action that I forgot, sorry, is rewrite all those narratives in a positive way, right? So everything, and then every time they show up in your head, no, automatic translates to the positive. That's what you do. It's like, oh, I'm not, oh no, I can't do this. And oh no, let me stop. No, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do, you know, so do the automatic switch, and that will actually help you to take the massive action.
And the more you do this, the more automatic it becomes. So with time, you won't need to do this exercise, right? You
practice makes perfection.
Yes, indeed.
It won't come easy. It's a bit like meditation. You know, people say, oh, I don't know how to meditate. You know, the more you practice, the better you get it, right? And it's not going to be perfect, and it's not like that imposter syndrome not kick in again. It's not that your self-sabotage is not going to kick in again. It's not that your procrastination will kick in again. The difference is, you know, once it comes, you recognize it quick and how fast you bounce back out of it. Exactly. That is the difference. Do you want to spend years on that, or do you want to spend maybe a few days and realize, oh, I realize what's happening here now. Let's work on this and move on, right?
Yeah, and always be kind and gentle with yourself, because that's one of the things that we always forget. Because no matter how good or bad things can be, if we embrace ourselves, it helps us during that exercise as well. Not just like, you know, from like both sides.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we forget a lot of times.
Yeah.
And especially women, okay, and especially mothers. Mothers are pretty good at that, right?
Yeah, it's
give all the things to the daughter, the son, or to the husband, and then to the whole family. And it's like, so for you, oh, I'm okay, I don't need anything.
And there is nothing left for you. You give too much.
Yeah, and it's like, so when do you take a time to go, I don't know, to a spa, or just literally to have a time to just go for meditation or hairdresser or something, or coffee with friends?
Me time.
And some me time. And most of the time it's like, oh well, if it happens that that you know, oh, I have no time for this, I have to bring kids to swimming, to gymnastics, to this and to that, to that.
Exactly. I mean, follow that list, it never ends. And so, speaking of motherhood, what made you choose, you know, to focus on working with women, empowering them, mentoring them, coaching them? What was your like main or major motivation behind it?
Well, we have enough men empowered out there.
I love it.
As I said, my mission is to empower women, to help. Well, the power is within them. I just want them to learn to find it and see it and honor it
and let it free.
My I don't know, is it catchphrase or something? A phrase that is really dear to my heart and I use a lot is that your authenticity is your superpower. And that's beautiful. And my goal is to help all these women to honor their authentic selves so they can be truly successful and have a fulfilling life as well. Because I see a lot of women successful out there, but to get there, they had to raise their masculine energy so high that they don't really have any touch or very little of their feminine self. And the feminine side is the nurturing side, is the caring side, and including for a caring side for ourselves, not just for others, but for ourselves too. And I feel it's very important that we bring a balance to the word and to the people, and bring that balance and bring the feminine and the masculine energies that are within all of us to balance. And for the longest of time, women didn't have even a choice. Like, and it still happens. Women, I see all the time, women who are trying to now find themselves and do something for themselves when they're already in their 50, 60, or even later, because they spend their whole life being the mother, being the wife. Some of them
the
were
giver. I call it the giver, because that's how my culture is. Like, they taught us how to give as a female. Since the moment you open your eyes in this world, you're like, you gotta take care of your brother, you gotta take care of your dad, you gotta listen, you're gonna be this and do that.
No studies, no, you're out of the school, go there to help with your mom with the brothers and sisters.
So you don't know how to give to yourself, and you don't know how to take from other people. And the beautiful thing about your challenges and your experience is the fruit that came out of it when you decided to switch to the coaching space. That's when you found yourself. And that's a great thing for women out there to know, that no matter how challenging things can be, there's always a way to meet your passion, and just flip everything and just start something like that meets your values, culture, and expectations, right? And so I'm so glad that you shared this your experience with us. Thank you so much. I'm sure the audience and women out there, they will find this very valuable. Thank you so much for your time, Tennessee. It's a pleasure talking to you and having you here.
Thank you so much.
Something that you want to say?
I was just going to say, there's no such thing as I'm too young. There's no such thing I'm too old. There's no such thing as, it's not my first language, I have an accent, I have no experience, I don't have a degree. None of this. If you follow your heart, if you follow what you feel is right for you, none of this will matter. And you will do your best, most amazing work ever.